What's up, everybody? We are back. John Delarose here, delarose.com. That's DELARROZ.com. And this is what I've been excited to read for a bit, and this is Flash Savage Velocity. This is the era right after Crisis on Infinite Earths, where Wally West took over the mantle as the Flash for the first time, restarted with an all-new, exciting collector's edition #1, of course. And it's just titled like this because they know that Flash Volume 1 or Flash Volume 2 doesn't really sell after a few volumes. So they're starting to get the hint that you can just title it something like this and people can read a whole run and kind of enjoy it. Now this is issues 1 through 18 and the Flash Annual #1. It's written by Mike Baron and drawn by it's Jackson Guice. And at least at the beginning here. So you get some very nice standard 80s comic art with Mike Baron really setting up the Flash and just trying to differentiate him a little bit from Barry Allen. He's not exactly as fast. He's depowered a little bit to start, and he's got to take some breaks and kind of recoup himself at times. You get a Vandal evil dude here who shows up, and each issue really has about two or three parts, or each storyline has 2 or 3 issues to it. So there's 2 or 3 parts, and the Flash, or Wally West, has this girlfriend to start, and she gets removed from the picture very quickly. I don't know if she was from the when he was Kid Flash or anything like that, because again, I just hadn't read anything before this, but she got extricated from the situation after just a few issues. So the Flash actually wins the lottery at the beginning of this series. And as you see, he's got a fast car here, got a fancy house now, and he goes out into the desert after that whole ordeal. And there's this giant machine thing that is taking everybody on. And this is where he meets his new girlfriend, and she's an older lady. So this gets kind of uncomfortable because he's supposed to be 20 and she's supposed to be about 32. And there's a lot of uncomfortable situations between them and his mother over the course of this. You have a very nice background family dynamic once it gets going. Now, the other thing is she's married, but she's married to a guy who is trying to seek power and kind of goes off the wall here after this robot storyline. So we're gonna get through this cool robot storyline. Very nice design for the evil robot there. We get the Titans involved in this, just to kind of show his Titan life. Very action-packed stuff and just very, very good. We get an annual. And this annual is really fun because he actually goes and deals with some kung fu stuff, goes to Asia and actually tries to learn this death touch sort of setup. And beautiful storyline, and Mike Baron wrote this very well. It's got a nice beginning, middle, and end where there's character moments that tie in from the beginning to the end. Of course, you get your awesome kung fu action, which never hurts, and wonderful deal. And so here's the one where she's got her husband. He's kind of he's a little preludes of Reverse Flash, who shows up a little later in this series, not in this book. And he's taken some Speed Force drug and is coming after her, and it's coming after him, and knockdown drag out fight here for a while. I like Jackson Guice's art pretty well. He does very expressive work. I think the figures are pretty fluid. He draws his girls pretty sometimes, except for obviously right there. Pretty well done. And just continuing drama, which builds. Then he goes on we're dealing with a lot of Speed Force stuff at this point, where of course we had that very personal Speed Force issue. Then he goes into Soviet Russia and finds this group called the Red Trinity, who's taken a bunch of Speed Force stuff, and they are fighting him at first. But then they realize that they want to escape communist Russia, and there's actually a second Russian Speed Force team who's going after them at this point. This is kind of an unfortunate panel where the girl's kind of got the man body a little bit. what can you do? Happens sometimes in comics. And so they escape and come back to America with the Flash. And the bad guys also come back to America with the Flash, try to take him down through this. And we get into this next art, which is a really ridiculous villain called Chunk. And he, like, basically has a black hole inside of him. And I guess we're in the middle of a DC event called Millennium here, which I am not familiar with that event or what's going on with it. There's a couple references to it. But Mike Baron really stays in his own lane for the most part. The cheesecake right there, the 80s cheesecake in the pool. And this Chunk guy just has to consume all the time, and so he really freaks out. And it turns out he actually has the power to like move people into this like Chunk world, which he like transports to this world. And he's actually everybody who's kind of messed with him, he's kind of brought over here, and they've set up rival gangs, been living here for months in this like apocalyptic world. And the Flash finally talks him down off the ledge, and so it's a different storyline than a lot of the others because they were pretty knocked down, drag out, beat 'em up fights, and the Chunk fight is really a thing where the Flash just reasons with him, and he's a scientist, so he's pretty good about that. And it ends pretty well, where Chunk as a character, because he just has this void inside of him, ends up like eating landfills and just taking away toxic waste. So he's actually pretty useful. Now we have a return once we're out of the Chunk world into Flash number 12 now. It says there's a bonus book with a 16-page second feature. That's not actually in this collection. So I have no idea what that bonus book is. I would have been curious to see what it is. I don't know. DC collections kind of do that. There's a Daring Adventures of Supergirl collection, which I read, and they had Lois Lane backup stories in there, and they just didn't print those in the book, and it's like, it would have been nice to read those and get the whole deal. Who knows? Maybe it was just a reprint. Don't know what's going on. But it's not there. But there's a new Speedster again, and they're the old Red group, and they're becoming the capitalists now. So they're actually using their Speed Force for money. And meanwhile, Wally West meets a neighbor who looks cute and innocent, but she's hooked up with a mobster who she calls Uncle. It's very, very bizarre. And we get our Vandal guy back, and he's actually, at this point, selling this Speed Force drug and trying to corner the market. And there's two rival gangs, which the Flash fights at this point. I should also note that he then gets injected, and yeah, she's a bad girl, as you can see, and loses his powers through this, and so he does what he can. She looks like she's gonna be the replacement girlfriend, and we keep talking through this, and there's a lot of emotional character drama in this, where we have a different pencil at this point, as you can probably tell. Little less nice of drawings through the end of this run here. But there's a fight between the Flash and his girlfriend. They break up. He starts to lose everything. His mom made some bad investment choices for him on his behalf, and he's going to lose his house now. And that is the end of his run, or Mike Baron's run. Oops, we're one issue past that. I'm sorry. So now we get Mesner-Loebs in here, William Mesner-Loebs, and Greg LaRocque on pencils. So very different. He kind of wraps things up here, but now the Flash is, has lost it all. He's about to end his relationship completely with his girlfriend, who then kind of gets back together with her husband, who has one last gasp here. And Flash kind of gets into a spot where he is like living in this ghetto apartment downtown, and the landlord actually needs help with getting his daughter rescued. And since he lost his powers, there's not much he can do, but he finally gets it back and solves the bad guy. I don't like Jackson LaRocque's art as much. As you can tell, he's just got I don't know, he's got a weird sort of golden agey way of drawing the faces here, which I just don't find appealing personally. So, and Mr. Loeb's really keeps it pretty interesting. I did like the end of this. You know, I thought Mike Baron maybe did a little bit better of a job. It was very interesting, and of course, watching the run end where he loses his house and, you know, loses his old girlfriend and kind of is starting over again. Really, in the middle of a volume, you kind of barely see this. Usually these volumes collect one run and then stop there. But since we got to see the last 4 issues there, you see that illusion of change of comics where it looked like he was developing with all this stuff, but we just ripped it right away, and then we just get to reset the character for the next writer. So that annoys me about comics so much. But you know what? I keep going back for more, so it is what it is. But this was a brilliant graphic novel. This is like Epic Collection sized for those who are following along on the Marvel end. So really big and lots of nice stories in here. I thought it was very well done all the way around. And I know, I think there's one more volume of this Flash-ish size. I don't know that they're coming out with one, but there's about that much material until the Mark Waid Flash run starts. So we're getting a pretty complete run post Crisis, with all the collected editions that are coming out, with the Mark Waid ones, the Jeff Johns ones, and there's a Grant Morrison one, I think, a couple others. Pretty nice. You can really read through the Flash and Wally West here. Now it's very interesting. I actually had my son read a little bit of this, and he's like, "Where's Barry Allen?" Because he's all his experiences is the Flash TV show. So for those who are new to the Flash, definitely keep in mind that Barry Allen's not around right here. But this is a great starting point because it is post-Crisis. You know, I kind of just tell people to read Crisis on Infinite Earths first, but it also helps if you're familiar with some of the characters before you get into Crisis. Otherwise, it doesn't have quite as much meaning. That's really where this version of the DC Universe started, and it's really awesome to just pick up from right there. So, 8.5 out of 10. Great stuff. Really fun. Highly recommend. Read The Flash. Good stuff. Bye.